Oh my gosh, here we are. Okay, I'm gonna get it. Oh, too far. There we go. Hi, all. Hi. I am so thankful to Bobby Lauer and Campus Compact for bringing us together. As someone who splits his time between Providence, Rhode Island, and Chicago, I'm drawn to Campus Compact's long organizing history between those cities, where Liz Hollander, the longtime Compact director, was instrumental in Harold Washington's campaign and administration here in Chicago. I'm grateful, too, for the work of the Obama Center in starting us with an understanding of the challenges and possibilities of institution building in ways that help us question what institution needs to be in this moment in order to nurture more justice into the next. Let's start with these murals. Both painted in downtown Providence about community organizers who graduated from College Unbound, I remember bragging about these murals to our accreditors a decade ago. I was so confused when they brushed it off as an inconsequential fact. So what, they said, your students paint murals. But that's not it. These are murals painted of our students, who were brilliant before entering College Unbound, when they had tried at previous institutions to complete their bachelor's, and they've continued to be brilliant following their degrees. Why are our institutions not positioned to see this brilliance always, and not see it as fully as artists and others outside the university, as they could? Perhaps I'll say it another way. How can we see you differently? How can our institutions be as radical and insistent and insurgent as artists who claim unused space on the side of buildings? How can we build institutions of learning that are just as dynamic and colorful and caring in the ways that they lift up learning, measure impact, and ensure civic spaces reflect that learning back at us? Our work is and needs to be affirming and affirmative work. Less maybe knowledge creation than knowledge curation. Learning existed long before institutions of learning that we all run. It's our job to seek it out, to nurture learning in the world, and to bring folks together to grapple across difference and to learn together for the sake of one another's well-being. Okay, hi, as Bobby said, I'm Adam Bush. I'm the president of College Unbound, and as the title of this talk suggests, I think a lot about the intersections and sometimes disconnects between hope, institution building, and ways to nurture civic love in the world. I'm going to move back and forth a little bit between slides and dialogue to help us share a common language of some of the core principles of College Unbound, so that in a few minutes when I'm in conversation with two Chicago College Unbound students, the folks who give me hope, who have deep critiques of institutions, and are the ones nurturing civic love in the city, that when we three talk about our higher education, the college that we are building together, we do so in ways that resonate. We will step into a practice designed by the National Public Housing Museum here in Chicago, a methodology called Civic Love that we want to share with you, and we'll end then with a call for engagement and follow-up in that civic love process. I'm honored, and I will speak as they come to the stage, to be in this world with Stanley Howard and Renaldo Hudson. That's right. We find hope here, as the title of this conference suggests, because of the two of them. They are best friends who model a liberatory friendship that we should all aspire to. They are institution builders who do so with critical imagination and radical generosity. They are authors who have written books, created collective writing projects and curriculum, which are tools of movement building and action. And in this moment, when we need new ways of moving in the world, they are the cartographers who show us the way. Between them, they share 76 years behind bars, 29 of them on death row. And because of their advocacy, and the advocacy and work of others in this room, including Bernadine Dorn here, the death penalty was abolished in Illinois. That's right. They model how to move in ways that are generational, with both an urgency of the moment to effect change now and a patience to know that there is change we are fighting for that will continue to happen long after any of us are here. You know, when Pell Grants started to return to prisons in recent years for higher education, they were framed as a second chance Pell program. Stanley and Renaldo help us challenge that framing, questioning what a first chance is. Learning is deeply vulnerable work. It calls us to question the systems around us and inspires hope to rethink and rebuild them. And that's the work of Stanley and Renaldo, and I'm excited to welcome them and to be in conversation with the two of them. I'm going to join you in 1 second, but I'm deeply grateful to the Obama Center, but I must say, and especially because maybe the Obama Center is not yet open, but the most radical, inclusive, and powerful cultural institution in Chicago is the National Public Housing Museum. The work they do to tell the story of public housing in America through policy, history, cooperatives, art exhibits, oral histories, and institution building is about a larger stake in the ground about what an investment in one another's shared public is and needs to be. Higher education, the institutions we run, need to be as generative and need to be as big thinking. One of the projects the museum created, and riffing on the New York Times 36 Questions to Fall in Love, you may remember, and you may have fallen in love too, was 36 Questions for Civic Love, which they released during COVID as a way to build connection across strangers in order to have a common language and recognition of one another's humanity on which to build more. And so I bring it here to us. Renaldo and Stanley and I will step into an abbreviated Civic Love to see this conversation, and then we'll return a little bit to College Unbound. Yeah. All right, we're good here? We're good here, cool. All right, and as you can see, there's some rules to Civic Love, right? We're gonna ask each other a series of questions, and we've broken down the 36 questions so it's something a little bit more manageable. We're gonna answer all of us the same question before we move on to a next one. And we're gonna go sequentially because so smartly, the National Public Housing Museum built a toolkit that moves through questions that as they do, they build an understanding of one another so that you can get deeper and deeper into the work together. And just like other methodologies of story circle practices and the like, we're not gonna give each other feedback on the questions besides the pat on the shoulder like, yeah, it's gonna be a chance for us to hear one another as deeply as we can. We three sort of brought the 36 questions down to these 14 to help us sort of pick together. And before we started, I think, Renaldo, you were saying question number 3 is the one that you think we should start with, right?
Yeah, hello, everybody, first of all. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Chicago, right? I love the National Public Housing Museum, too, so if you haven't been over there, get over there while you're here. Mm-hmm. So, and be a member, right? And that was not asked of me to say. But when I think about, when I wake up, this may be a little corny, but it's Aretha Franklin. I have Aretha Franklin jump on, say a little prayer for me. Mm. And the reason I listen to that is because I realize that I'm now among the privileged. Mm. And I need to wake up thinking about how I'm going to walk through my day and how I'm going to engage people. And so that is my start of the day is getting there and then the discipline of the desk. Yeah.
Dan, you want to go? You want me to go?
Yes, you can go.
So the question we just answered, is what's the sound that wakes you at the start of your day? So Stanley, what's the sound that wakes you at the start of your day?
First, I'd like to say welcome you all to Chicago also. And I was born here in Chicago, but I'm pretty much brand new to the city again, just getting back after about 2 years now. Mm. And yes, I would quote the famous Renaldo Hudson about getting to the National Public Housing Museum, but I can't wait to get to the Obama Center neither. Mm-hmm. I got to be able to get there. On June 10th, that was the day I got married, and my day always starts the same, and even when I was on the inside, where I start with my coffee, and I turn on the news, and to see what's happening in my world. See what happened in the world while I was asleep. And that's how I always starts my day. It gives me fuels, gives me energy. And now I got to figure out what the traffic is like. Because rush hour traffic could be a monster. coming from Lansing, driving all the way up to Sheridan and Uptown People's Law Center to work. And it's tough, but I love it though. I love it.
Now, one of you got to ask me the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can do my best Barry White. What's the sound that wakes you up in the morning?
Thanks, Stanley. So as I mentioned, I like split my time between different cities. A lot of time what wakes me is a phone call. I really try and start my day talking to someone I love. Often it's my wife, and often we are in different places. And so to start the day in that way means that I do so.
Oh, that's so sweet of you, man. That is so sweet. She just is cheesy.
All right, so Renaldo picked the first question. Stanley, you want to pick what next question to go to?
Well, even with these things, I can't see.
All right.
What's one thing?
I think,
Wherever you've been, number 6 here.
yeah,
What's the one thing that makes
wherever you live, the
you-
home. Okay, who do you want to go first?
Well, it's my pillow.
Okay.
I grew up in the house where it was a lot of love, and I had a bunch of people sleeping in the bed with me also when I was growing up. It was 2 uncles, my twin uncles that was 3 years older than me, and me and my brother at the bottom of the bed. This is how we slept because the house had burned down that we was living in. And when I finally got to my own bed, I ain't have feet in my face, I ain't had nothing. So I never had the opportunity, I never slept on my pillow. I always hugged my pillow. So if I'm leaning this side, it's a hug. If I'm leaning this side, it's a hug. And even when I'm someplace that I'm not at home, a coat or anything, a blanket or anything that I could hug is always something that reminds me of home.
All right, you want to ask which one of us to go next?
Big homie,
All right,
Ronaldo?
Renaldo Hudson.
and the question is, what's something that makes wherever you are a home?
Yeah, it's my quilt. Like I'm a cuddler. And like Alice Kim, like when I came home in 2020, gave me this quilt that's like so soft. Like, you know, in prison, everything is hard and like scratchy, you know? And like anybody that come to my house, they know I don't be playing, don't be grabbing my quilt, right? But that quilt, like I think wherever I go for however long I'm left on the earth, it's gonna roll with me because it makes me happy. And like I hug it like you hug your pillow because it's just that soft. Yeah.
That's amazing because I just moved into my house and she bought me this really soft quilt. It's like,
No, she didn't. You ain't taking my quilt story from Alice. Like, no, she didn't. They found that quilt and gave it to you.
All right, now you got to ask me.
Adam,
Yeah.
like, what is that like thing that, you know, makes you feel at home no matter where you are?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a thing or just that there is lots of things. I think I feel at home when there's clutter, and like stacks of books, whether I've read them yet or not, newspapers from the week before, full pantry, like things that I feel like I'm gonna be okay because I got all this stuff and all these people around me, and there's things that we can do when there's people. Like there's something about a full home like that makes you feel homey. Yeah.
that's crazy because, you know, I suffer from these OCDs that I have where everything got to be in place. Don't move the shoes, put this over here. But when you go into my home office, it's organized chaos. It's like everything, but I know what everything is at. Other than that, I like that. I like that.
All right, we're gonna have time for one more Civic Love question that we're gonna do. And as you can get a sense, what we're doing with Civic Love is it's setting the way for us to move and learn together about one another so that as we start talking about the institution we're building, we have that foundation to do. How about let's jump ahead a little bit to maybe that question about what scares you. That's far along the process, and which one of you two want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Don't nothing scare me anymore. Like, I take that back. What scares me is people surrendering their hope. That scares me, you know, because hope is a human right, and it can only be surrendered. And so if something scares me, when I look out, like, at the world and I see people running scared, frightened of like what might be. I'm like, what might be is you stand up, and like resist, And so, in fairness to that question, it scares me to see people being broken, people being mistreated, like people being like, corralled. I know a little bit about that, serving 37 years of incarceration, right? And now I really want to make sure that despite the fear, we keep moving. Yeah.
You want to ask me now, or you want to ask Stanley?
I want to ask you, like, what scares you, brother?
Yeah, I really loved your answer. Thank you for sharing. I'll answer it in like the cute way to the larger way, which is I think running out of gas scares me. Like a car that runs out of gas, because there's something of like a crew of us went to Minneapolis recently, and it was a little bit of less like, there's lots on the news, and thank you so much, Julie, for sharing the story. And the notion of not being able to get there. Like when folks are in need, or when there's a sense of like what it means to witness or be in solidarity and not being able to be there, that idea scares me. And I'm someone who has like family in lots of places around the country, and I think I try really hard to show up wherever at the time, wherever I need to be at the right time. And so the not being able to be there notion is the thing that scares me.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Stan,
get that.
what scares
I get
you?
that. Being this close to a super volcano, knowing this rat there,
All right.
you got this big old orange thing that could just spit us into obliteration, the sun. We have technology that's gone out of control, whereas they're talking about robots and AI taking over the planet. A lot of things scares me, but seriously, considering the work that I've been doing on the inside, like my brother said, I've done 39 years of incarceration, 16 on death row. Knowing that we are still dealing with solitary confinement, and a lot of guys are still dealing with that, and people are serving life without the possibility of parole, with no hope. Right before I was released, I started having severe panic attacks and anxiety problems on the inside. Whereas I was having a major problem, I was incarcerated, but I couldn't stand to be locked inside the cell anymore.
Yeah.
What scares me is going back to prison and to be locked inside of a cell again. It scares the hell out of me. And this is why I'm in the business of trying to tear down prisons' walls.
That's right.
And Uptown People's Law Center. Until we're able to do that, we are trying to make sure prison conditions are best for people on the inside, whether or not it's mental health, health care. I mean, you can go up and down the line with what we are dealing with. So that scares me, going back on the inside.
Thanks, Stanley.
But I did learn how to deal with my anxieties.
Okay.
Somebody told me, they tried to give me these pills. I stood up that next morning, I'm like, no, I can't do this. But a simple antidote with just counting my fingers and counting my toes helped me more than any of the psych had, whereas told me the way I talked myself into that funk, I had to think my way out of that funk. And it scares me, so I don't want to end up counting my toes and fingers again.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks you both for standing in civic love with us and for modeling this practice. What we want to do is build on some of what we've just shared to talk about the institution building we are doing together. I also want to name, if there are pieces, so it's like Stanley, you shared a little bit about your work at Uptown People's. Renaldo, do you want to share a little bit about your work at IPP to just sort of like frame you in the space and we'll go about College Bound?
Yeah. Thank you for that. Like, I'm the director of education, right? I love saying that to people because they used to call me offender or inmate. I'd be like, excuse me, I'm director, right? Of education, right? An amazing organization called the Illinois Prison Project, whose executive director is Jennifer Sobel, who is also my lawyer, who actually won my second executive clemency. That's why I'm sitting here as a guilty man, not an exonerated man. I think that's so important when we talk about this work, that there are so many people who have caused harm, but they're trying to figure out how to get back across the bridge to undo the harm. You know, and oftentimes those bridges are locked. You know, and institutions tend to be the lockers. It's not always the monsters that we expect to be. It's these, you know, institutions that are protecting education rather than protecting the people. You know, and so, and so the work I do is changing the dangerous one-sided narrative overwhelmingly, which for people that understand aggravating factors are things that happen that can't be changed. And the mitigating factors are the continuance, like the beautiful Renaldo Hudson sitting here, the beautiful Stanley Howard sitting here, and all the other people that are doing amazing work. That's mitigation consistently, constantly. Aggravating factors won't change, but we do. And that's the work I do.
Thanks for and thanks to you both. And we're going to do one round of applause in a second, because the piece of their introduction that I want to say for this moment is to name that on May 3rd, Stanley and Renaldo are both graduating with a Bachelor of Arts from College Unbound.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, with honors. That's right, with honors. Another round of applause for that. That's right. So when I say we're building a college together, I actually mean it. In real time, while enrolled students, we are building what a higher education needs to look like for one another.
Yeah.
And the one another is this room-wide one another. I'm going to quickly go through some slides about College Unbound, because I've said it, some people in the room know, but I want to give some common understanding of both our history and our practices, so that as we get into a little bit, what it means for there to be hope and love and vulnerability reflected in College Unbound, we sort of have the framework that we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Okay, so College Unbound has a pre-history of 2009 when we started to agitate in higher ed, saying things have to be different and let's start a consortium with pathways at lots of institutions. And as folks in this room know, partnership work is exhausting and wonderful and exhausting. And in 2015, we sort of moved strategies to really become our own institution, to really set College Unbound as an independent institution in Rhode Island, which is where we were founded, to soon after that move through the accreditation process. We're accredited by NETCHI, and with our accreditation to then be approved to support students nationally. We have 600 students now around the country in 70-something 10-ish person cohorts scattered all around the country, with sort of like regional hubs that I'll talk a little bit more about in the Rhode Island area and the Delaware Valley around Philadelphia, in Chicago here with these guys and about 40 other adult learners, in Seattle, in Greenville, and all throughout. Our folks graduate in 2.2 years on average. And they do so with an affirmative practice of recognizing the learning we all do, both in past experiences in higher ed and in the community building, in the organizing, the storytelling, the caregiving that we do in nurturing one another's lives. And because of a deep commitment of the college both to have low tuition costs and because of the deep partnership work we do, we make sure that a majority of our students are graduating debt-free and everyone has a pathway to, if they so choose.
Y'all can clap for that.
Yeah, all right, you clap for that. I'm talking fast because I want to get back into conversation. But to just say, our students are our collective students. There are folks who have started and not finished degrees at lots of institutions reflected in this room. They're the 1 in 10 adults around the country. They're all of us who are caregivers in the world for the generation above or below them. They often are folks affected by the systems meant to be inclusive and public, but they have felt those systems as being exclusionary. And so coming to College Unbound is a part of how a degree helps give the tools to be able to move in and affect the systems around them. Many of our students, you see, have full-time jobs in the education, health, housing, community organizing, and care work sectors. And yeah, there's lots we want to be talking about. I want to get into some specifics about the curriculum. College Unbound, we really named 6 main components that are at the heart of the degree. It's a Bachelor of Arts degree with a single major in organizational leadership and change. Now, we worked really the past 15 years in making sure that we had a way to encompass a major that would bring folks together to talk across their bodies of work. Interdisciplinarity is the way that we need to move in the world and what prepares people for a future of work. And we know leadership and collective leadership is what is needed. And so our Bachelor of Arts in Organizational Leadership and Change is our offering for adult learners. It's the work we do to help people have as transfer-friendly as a degree in and as accessible as a degree moving out. The cohort is the unit of growth for the college. I mentioned the 70-ish cohorts all around the country. We start cohorts both informally Renaldo and I have stories about how we built this cohort in Chicago. We also go do in deep partnership with housing authorities, with school districts, with other sectors to make sure that we're supporting both employees of those spaces and folks who are ones who use those spaces. It's both patrons of the library and employees of the library. It's parents of young people at elementary schools as well as teacher assistants in those schools. We have, within our curriculum, the cohort-driven liberal arts academic model. We have a core group of classes that drive that as a part of the major. And we'll talk about some of them, but they range from research for justice to learning in public, learning from experience, to a class called Reframing Failure. That was about how do we contextualize the ways that we've navigated the systems around us. Mm-hmm. How do we not just have a sort of TED Talk version of failure that is like, I failed a bunch of times, it didn't affect anybody, and I was able to navigate out of it, but really understand the consequences of the things we do and how they tie us together. And how do we need to understand that story as a part of our learning? Learning in public, this idea of credit for knowledge gained for work in the world, is a deep core part of the college, and we'll talk about that too. We name the core competencies of the college the Big Ten, the creativity, collaboration, resilience, health and well-being, equity and justice, all the things that are institutional learning outcomes, as many institutions here. But we not only measure them, we not only say that they're graduation requirements, we also have credit associated with them. So as folks do storytelling practices to tease out the learning within them, they are mapped to credit as a part of their degree. And think about that with the 83% of our students who are caregivers. We want to make sure that any caregiver has the way to tease out the learning of caregiving and have it mapped to credit. Right, we mentioned on that chart the 53% for students who themselves personally or immediate family identify as having a relationship with the carceral system. In navigating those spaces, within and without, navigating reentry, in the peer mentorship and collective organizing, and in working in the law library on the inside, there's deep knowledge making that's there. Like I said at the start, there's learning that existed far before institutions of learning. And we have a mandate to recognize and honor and accredit that. And that's a part of everyone's degree at College Unbound. Right. And I'm going to keep going. It keeps going. And while we measure impact in murals, we also try to think about equitable and transformational outcomes to understand the growth and impact of any degree on a learner's life. The equitable outcomes as the ones that certainly are how it's our positions someone to move in the world differently. And the transformational outcomes, the one that move you on the inside differently. As we're talking about how do we find hope in one another and how do we build collective hope together, the 90% of our alums who have greater belief in their potential, I want to highlight, that the 87% who are more likely to advocate for themselves and the 84% who are more likely to advocate for others. We all need to be advocates in the world in this moment differently and beyond. And how do we see and understand that work and impact? And here are other ways I see what we do resonate. A third of our full-time staff of the college are alumni of the institution. I want to think about how do we create and co-create new ways of supporting the next generation of leadership in all colleges. And they should be folks who've been affected by the systems, by the institutions we have, not just positively, but folks who've really struggled through higher ed. How are they the ones helping to dictate how these institutions need to evolve? I also think about the husbands and wives and multi-generational partners that are within cohorts. And how are we creating ways for whole families to seek out a degree together? The work we're doing is a regional organizing model. At College Unbound, higher education is not the ends, but the means, and this is movement-building work we're doing. I lean into a regional organizing model of how to think about the college's next iteration, trying to echo Ella Baker's work guiding SNCC, perhaps more than it does any institution's growth strategies in this room. As Ella Baker said, whatever level of formal education people have the ability to understand and interpret the world around them. And we have a responsibility, certainly as an open admissions college, to move with that affirmative value of how we can learn and build together. But our growth, I want to make sure that growth here is not seen as a territorial one, but a collaborative and collective one. How can each of our institutions be ones that further support a shared mission of learning and hope and love in this world? So when you see College Unbound and lots of different dots here, I want to think about it as College Unbound as a capstone bachelor's pathway on community college campuses, where folks have a deep relationship to those campuses. I want to think about a college that supports parents of first-generation college students on your campuses, so that college is not a thing that separates the generations of families, but they move through a degree together. I want to think about how we can have a college be the one for food service and public safety and maintenance workers on your campus, who are deep parts of the learning communities that you're nurturing, but maybe don't have access to the tuition benefits to be able to pursue a degree while supporting learners in that space. We're also a college for faculty on your campuses on sabbatical who want to think about andragogy as a part of their pedagogy. We're a college for graduate students. We're thinking about the next generation engagement and the relationship to higher education that they want to have differently. And our faculty are people who have lots to teach, but also perhaps don't have the terminal degrees always to be hired in your campuses. And so how can they also be ones who are seen formally as educators in higher ed? And how is that this other affirmative work that we have to do? This is collective work, and it gives me great hope. And so I want to, let's see, there we go. Good. I want to return then to sort of collective conversation. We're going to have 3 slides and a couple minutes on each. So to think about hope, institution building, institutional vulnerability, I want to suggest, and love, and what we mean by those terms and how we practice them in College Unbound. Right? At College Unbound, we talk about caregivers a lot, but it's not that care is a mode of learning. It's that learning is a mode of care, everybody. Like, by learning together, we nurture more hope in the world, and that hope is defiant, and it's insistent. And so I want to be in conversation with you both about when we talk about hope and College Unbound, where do you see it emerge? What are the practices that we have and that we're building together that make you feel both hopeful in higher ed and see hope in practice?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I was one of them brothers that came home, and I want to frame this in its true context. I was using language like toxic intellectuals, because I was mad at, the academic world. Like, really quickly, when I went to prison, I couldn't read or write. When I was sitting on death row, thinking about being executed or exterminated, I wanted to be able to at least read the death warrant. And I stopped a deputy director walking down the gallery and said, "Hey man, put me in school, like, give me a book or something." And he looked at me, and I'll never forget these words. He said, "Renaldo, Hudson, why would we educate you? We're going to execute you." But no, this is the rub. This is why it's so important to frame these things. In that moment, I didn't know it, but hope sparked in me. Because I knew from their words, I was so much better than my worst decision. And I said, I'll be another word, right? Because I'm an academic now, I have to choose my words carefully. But no, because I want people to invite me to speak. They'd be like, no, he's vulgar. But I don't want to do that. I want your children to be able to sit in the room with me and learn, and we learn from each other. So I did say something different. And I was like, I'm not going to die being good for nothing, and I'm not going to die not being able to read. And so one of the things that I see hope is like at a lot of the institutions, they kind of frame things like they recruit you. What I tease you about, and you notice they don't notice, Adam actually courted me. Lisa, it was pure, but he courted me, and we talked for a couple years about like what would fit. And you would say to me, and this was hope, I'm a advocate that when preparation meet opportunity, great things will happen. We're graduating in May, right? So the opportunity, right, was College Unbound that wasn't bound by all the rules that intimidated me and frightened me, to go back to the earlier question. Because I was like, I have to qualify based upon some academic status, right? Versus, hey, your life experience count. Your lived experience count. Like in prison, I went from not being able to read or write to starting the Stateville Speak newspaper, right? Yeah, it's being published even to this day, right? I started the groundbreaking program called The Building Block, right? At College Unbound, I got credit for that. In Danville, I didn't, right? Not only did I not get credit for it, they tried to oust me, you know, and like, you ain't created nothing that we can hold dear. With College Unbound, like, hope is my lived experience is accounted by me articulating in my words and using the academic training to frame the narrative so that a person that don't have my experience can follow my thinking and my experience. Yeah.
And you won't. I love that because you won't be able to use that lived experience in any other colleges that I know of. Well, my situation started somewhat similar to yours. I was a high school dropout. I dropped out in the 9th grade, basically the 3rd or 4th week. High school was nothing but a place where I just dressed up, tried to look cute, chase girls, and party. And that was it. And then I found myself on death row. I'm a Chicago police torture survivor. I was tortured to sign a confession to crimes I did not commit. And I ended up on death row with 50 years and 28 years, ran wild for a total of 78 years. But me too sought an education. While on the inside, I received my GED, I received a paralegal certificate, a construction certificate with fundamentals of construction, building maintenance construction, and business management of construction. But also, after I received my GED, I fell in love. I fell in love with criminal law. And this was around the time the state of Illinois was executing people. And this is how I started, and the reason why I started a law class on death row to teach other guys what I knew about criminal law. I'm not saying that I was a master professor, but I knew I had the ability to teach them or get them started on the path where they could be able to be advocates for themselves to try to fight for their own lives. Also, thank you. When I got off of death row, that's around the time George Bush started the shock and awe war in Iraq. And I started Prisoners Against the War, where we were sending letters to the troops in Iraq, in Afghanistan, to try to show that we could be against the war and still support the troops. I bring all of this up, and not only that, I started the Death Row 10 campaign, which is other torture survivors. I wrote a book called Torture by Blue, the Chicago Police Torture Story. And
What's the name of the book?
Torture by Blue. It's
And-
on
and
Amazon
people can
right
buy
now.
it, right?
And
Yeah,
people can
yeah,
buy it
yeah.
on Amazon right now. But when I got out of prison and I was introduced to you, a day that I almost died, it took me to a Thai place for dinner, and I can't eat spicy food. And it was this little bitty green thing inside of his meal that I didn't think it was gonna hurt, but I thought I was gonna die that day. They were trying to give me water. I'm like, oh my God, what the heck? But I was introduced to Adam on that particular day, and I started College Unbound, and it wasn't soon thereafter I wanted to quit. Why so? The state of Illinois did not prepare me for release. I got into a brand new planet where the planet just went tech on me. And even though I was a damn good paralegal on the inside, a good jailhouse lawyer on the inside, with one person exonerated from people we sentenced, being on this side of the wall without no computer skills, I was popped. So I had to throw myself into that. And starting an online course for College Unbound, I didn't think I was gonna do it. But I was forced to stay because my professor, Bill Ayers, he wasn't having it. My brother Renaldo wasn't having it. My mom wasn't having it. So I was forced to stay, and I'm glad I was forced to stay because
Stanley, you stayed because you didn't want me to cross the stage.
that too.
Like, quit acting like that was the stuff.
That was motivation. We started together, and to see Renaldo graduating and I'm not graduating, that was just going to tear me apart anyway too. But I said all of that to say that what I was able to accomplish, my lived experience on the inside, gave me credits with College Unbound, to whereas it moved me along quicker where I had to take these courses because I already was able to show that I have the skills and ability. But also, College Unbound is so sweet. Class is at my house tomorrow. And we will be having class at my house tomorrow. I just moved in.
But I really love that you guys took the notion of hope and started to talk about the Learning in Public program and the Big Ten as like the work that you do in the world and how we have a responsibility then, and how hopeful it becomes when that is seen and recognized as credit-bearing learning work.
Yeah, a perfect, I'm sorry. A perfect example, you mentioned the Big Tens, right? In my work, communication is crucial. And one of the things you're required to do is just give these narratives. And then say, what is the evidence of you being an effective communicator, right? And I'm like, ooh, right? And you start to think about it, which reconnected me back to, oh, you need to know what you're talking about, right? And not just running your mouth, because it's so easy just to run up and be like, give me the mic. Like, I'm cute, so like I could take any mic. I know, don't struggle with that. But it's like learning to be an effective communicator, learning like accountability, you know, like, and being accountable to each other. Like I always say this, and I want everyone to remember this if you don't remember nothing else. The discipline of the desk, coined by me, and I'll let Bill Ayers get credit too. But that, going through those Big Tens, it was Bill would always say to me, hey man, you can't be a scholar, right, without reading. You should be reading and then reading some more and then reading some more. And then he would give me newspaper clippings that I'd be like, I ain't reading this. But I would get in the car, I'd be sitting there and I'd read it. I'm like, ooh, I could use this in my Big Ten. Because I just learned something that I didn't know. So anyway, and I know I'm watching this clock.
I know, we got this clock. We can just
know,
go on all
man.
day. You know, we're talking about hope. I want to move us to this piece about institutions. You know, a lot of times, I'm sure a lot of missions here talk about institutional excellence. At College of Man, we actually talk about institutional vulnerability. And I want to use that as a framing maybe to ask you guys about the course Reframing Failure. Because you both went through it as part of the core curriculum. And we're going to watch the time, so it's only like, we're going to, for 3 minutes, talk about reframing failure. But what did that course sort of prompt in you? What did you write about? What did you think about?
I absolutely loved that class, but because it taught me that a lot of the failures that I had in my life was educational, things to learn from, and not something that to look down from, or to look at it as something that I failed at. Because, you know, we all fall. You have to get back up, and how you get back up is actually what counts. Do you just jump up? Well, at this age, I got to get up in stages these days. It's like, but yeah, reframing failure. I really loved the instructor, and the curriculum was tight, and it was able to put me in the sense that, you know, let me know that everything that I have failed at in the past was actually, and plus I loved how the TED Talks and the curriculum itself, the reading, it showed me that I still have a lot of growth left, and don't be afraid to fail. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, y'all, this is my podcast partner, too. Like, and this is so funny because he'll move. I'll be like, brother, be still, right? And it's so funny how we're learning from each other constantly, right? But, like, the course on reframing failure, like, have this thing of a failure resume. And I was like, I ain't writing it, but I'll be here the rest of my life. I'm finna write no failure resume. But then when I started walking through it, and then I saw the other side of the failures. Because that's the thing about, remember, lived experience. I was like, wait a minute, this make a whole lot of sense. And which is why I'm an advocate now. Like, there shouldn't be a university that don't have reframing failure, period. I want to say that like loud and clear. Every student that's in a classroom should be able to go through that process and experience like what it feels like to process through what the world is trying to say is not any good. And so that's why I keep advocating, like, every prison in the United States should have a course. We're gonna push it too, like College Unbound. Or if y'all wanna join us, come holler at them, right? But that reframing failure is like one of the best courses by far, which I wanna teach, first of all, at some point with College Unbound, because it just goes to the core of what most people are frightened by, which is someone's gonna see my crack, someone's gonna see my brokenness. And it's like, you may see my cracks, but it's just an indicator of my trauma, which leaves me open to success, right? And so that's what reframing failure did for me.
I want to touch on that just one more thing, what my brother was just saying. To be sentenced to death could be viewed as a failure. To all of a sudden be abolition of the year this year from death penalty focus, we would be receiving that award.
Thank you very much.
They're breezing over it. An organization, Death Penalty Focus, which is really doing national movement building work for the abolition of the death penalty, is honoring Renaldo and Stanley as abolitionists of the year this year.
So I guess you could reframe that as failure and if you can.
Yeah.
Well, think about it, and I'm looking at the clock, I promise you. The state of Illinois said that there was nothing redeemable about you to justify sentencing a person to death. They have to say that there's nothing redeemable about you. You can never do anything great again. You are not only a failure in society, you're a constant threat to even the prison system. So we must exterminate you. College Unbound just said, we're gonna graduate you, and we're gonna celebrate you. And for me, like, you can't get a better story. Like when people talk about second chances, fair chances. And that's what we're advocates of. Like, how do you get a fair chance?
Yeah. You said something yesterday when we were sort of thinking about today. You talked about how earlier you would bristle against and push against this notion of academia. And it's not academia. You want to fight against anything that doesn't set folks up for success.
Yeah.
And that's actually what I think you both are always agitating against.
Yeah.
You're trying to create institutions and practices and ways of being in the world together that both set up folks up for success, but also really nurture love and hope in this world.
I set myself up for success also by picking them as my study buddy.
You did, that's true, right? That's true, right? But think about it though, like we have to trust that we got each other's back.
Yeah.
And please, y'all, hope is a human right that can only be surrendered. Hope is a human right. Please, hope is a human right. It can only be surrendered.
Only be surrendered.
Yeah.
And check out Tortured by Blue.
So, in our last couple minutes, I want to pull up a slide for a second just to wrap us up because the clock is going. But I want to make a few closing points. I want to thank the National Public Housing Museum for their brilliance and generosity. And if you can go before leaving town, please do. If you want to go with me after the closing plenary, I'll be going on Wednesday afternoon. We can field trip it together. 2, in collaboration with National Public Housing Museum and many throughout this room, I'm really excited to think about what a Civic Love toolkit for higher education can be. As we were getting ready for this, we also came up with some other questions. We also want to think about how Civic Love can be a mobilizing tool across campuses across this country. And in partnership with Campus Compact and others, we want to generate this toolkit. And so I leave my email there as a chance for folks to sort of send in, oh, these could be great questions, or oh, we want to host that, or oh, let's think more together about it. I have a QR code up there. Like I said, Stanley and Renaldo went through an abbreviated version of Civic Love with me. This is the full 36 questions that you can do on your phone. Please, during this conference, during those breakfasts Bobby talked about, during those lunches, make Civic Love with folks here. Use that as a guide to sit across the table and be in Civic Love. For any that do, you can email me and I will send you a certificate of the consummation of Civic Love. I'd say College Unbound is always growing and hiring and thinking about what needs to be and become. That can only happen together, so let's be in touch with that too. And with that, let's close with poetry, because we're in Chicago. Not only do we have to close with poetry, we have to close with the words of Gwendolyn Brooks. And we talked about hope, we talked about institutions. I want to end with this notion of love. We talked about this cohort that drives us in College Unbound. I think there's no better encapsulation of what a cohort is besides these words from Gwendolyn Brooks. And I hope actually we can read them together as something to bring forward into these last days of the conference. So from Gwendolyn Brooks' poem, Paul Robeson, it ends with the lines, "We are each other's harvest. We are each other's business. We are each other's magnitude and bond." Thank you all. Love you.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, guys. So if you didn't know about College Unbound, you do now. And everyone is Adam's friend. Thank you so much, Stanley. Thank you so much, Renaldo. Congratulations on your upcoming graduation. A dear mentor and friend to many of us is Wendell Pritchett, who was the board chair at College Unbound. If you didn't know, a past board member of Campus Compact, a past chancellor at Rutgers Camden, and a longtime professor and dean of the law school and provost at Penn, two beloved Compact institutions as well. And I saw a quote that he recently was sharing about College Unbound that said, College Unbound is education as repair, education as mobility, and education as belonging. And I don't know any other way to think about hope as we head out into this conference. So the last two closing points I have are just two very quick logisticals, which is we got a lot of people here, and we're going to have two sessions this afternoon. A point I did not make that I know my team was like, she didn't say the thing. One of those things is just a tiny one, which is a lot of roundtables. People are excited about those. There are 14 chairs for each of those roundtables. We don't want it to be 40 chairs at each one of those roundtables. So when you show up and all 14 chairs are taken, I promise there's another session, another roundtable that you can visit. So we're going to ask you to try to do that. We know it's hard, but it also means get there early. If there's a roundtable in particular that you really want to be a part of, come back and join us tonight. Our signature reception starts tonight at 6 o'clock up in the Crystal Ballroom. We have the Chicago Chicago College of the Performing Arts is going to be providing some awesome music. It'll be a great way to connect with each other. There are wonderful snacks right outside here and upstairs in the Crystal Ballroom. And with that, go forth. Thank you.